Hello everybody, my name is Strange Eli and welcome to another episode. Last week I did put out a short film, however I didn't want to move through November without talking about Inktober. If you don't know what Inktober is a kind of event slash challenge that happens around October of every year. It was created by this artist Jake Parker, and the whole goal is that every single day you make a primarily ink piece, either like a drawing or whatever, but using primarily inks, and you can use pencils beforehand, but it's sort of like supposed to be purely ink. And now I participate in this event every year. In fact, I have participated since 2015. 2 years of constant drawing and art on top of that later. Inktober 2017 happened, and I felt like it was appropriate that I showed you some of my work. Now, I do have all of these drawings in an actual stack. It's much easier if I actually just put up a picture for you. You can look at all these pictures on your own time without any of my commentary on my Instagram, and that's the Strange Eli on Instagram as well. Day number 1 is this Green Lantern Guy Gardner redesign. I did this design originally in 2016, but in 2016 I was trying to make my art style a little more cartoony and a little more like based on shapes. And at the time I didn't really know how to draw people, and so my original 2016 drawing of this is really awful. But 2017 I put a lot more time into it. I wanted to make sure that I was properly displaying this redesign that I had made, and so I decided to redraw that redesign, and so that's what you are seeing right now. So Inktober normally has like themes for every day, or like prompts for what kind of stuff to draw. That was the only one that doesn't go with any sort of prompt, but the day 2, which was day 2 Divide, is very much in the theme of it, and that is Two-Face, and this one is actually one of my least favorites from Inktober 2017. I had made a few noir Batman pieces in 2016 and since then, so I felt like with Divided it made sense to do Two-Face one. Didn't really come out how I wanted it to. So we're gonna move on. Day number 3 is Poison. Now, a challenge for me that I set this Inktober was 1, to draw more women, and 2, to draw less superheroes. And so this woman, who was a mermaid flowing through an inky cloud of poison, was my day 3 submission. I personally like this piece. The only problem that I have with it is that the tail blends in with the clouds too much, in my opinion. Day number 4, Underwater. I really like this piece as well. I wish that I wish that I had used some darker or deeper shadows to add some more value to the image, but overall I really like it. I don't usually draw people from that position, and I had to redesign a kind of jetpack scuba tank for it, so it was kind of cool and fun. Day number 5 is Long. This is one of my favorites. I love Mr. Fantastic and actually the whole Fantastic Four, and so I really wanted to draw a Fantastic Four piece sometime during Inktober, and I felt like this was my best opportunity to do so. Overall, I really like the colors and shine in this piece, and doing anatomy for Mr. Fantastic or any really stretchy superhero is always fun because it just doesn't matter what you draw. Day number 6, Sword. I personally am not a huge fan of this one. However, my girlfriend loves this one the most out of pretty much all of them. And so I ended up giving this one to her, which is another reason why I'm posting the pictures instead of, showing them to you in person. But overall, I think this one's fine. It's weird for me to draw girls, and face is weird, but I was trying to get like crying, and I don't know, the whole thing is just kind of strange. Day number 7 is Shy, and this one was the absolute easiest for me to do throughout the entire Inktober, because as you can see, it's pretty simple in terms of detail, but it was taking a long time to try to think of something that worked for the Shy theme. And I do realize that Shy guys do exist in Mario, but then as I was kind of looking through Shy, I Google searched Shy, and a picture of this Boo came up, and so I was like, oh, perfect, I'll just draw a Boo. Day number 8, Crooked. Crooked means a lot of things. Crooked usually just means like tilted, but I kind of wanted to expand the meaning to crooked as in like a crooked person, a crooked criminal, crooked mental state, it's kind of stuff like that. So, and also using crooked as in like the pictures itself is tilted and the framing is tilted. And so this is a recreation from the panels from The Killing Joke, including original coloring. And so I just wanted to pay homage to that in an image. Day number 9, and probably a little predictable, Screech. Of course, I had to do Black Canary. Black Canary to me is the most important comic book character with super screaming. You know, nothing against Banshee or Black Bolt or anyone else that can do that, but it's not. Black Canary is the coolest, and so I just had to include her as a piece. Day number 10 was Gigantic, and of course after drawing this, a million more ideas came into my head of things that could have worked well with Gigantic. I really like this image a lot, and I like Giganta, the DC villain, but after I drew it, I kind of wish that I had done an image of Atlas holding up the sky or the earth, because I've always really liked that part of Greek mythology, and I feel like I could do a really cool take on like what that looks like from the ground perspective, and so I'm thinking maybe I should have done that, but since it was a woman, it was a little bit more of a challenge for me, and so I decided to go with this one. Day 11 is Run, and of course, as a comic book fan, I couldn't do Day 11 without doing the Flash. And I do follow a lot of people on Instagram who are also doing Inktober, and I also saw everyone else doing the Flash for Inktober, but I couldn't avoid it. The Flash is one of my absolute favorite superheroes, and even more so, I love Reverse Flash as a villain, so I decided to draw both of them in sort of a comic book panel style, and I think it came out pretty good. Day 12 is Shattered, and this one probably is the most original of them so far, in terms of colors, the faces, the way that the glass breaks. The person isn't even a character that exists in an established media. I literally just wanted to put some faces, kind of draw the same guy from different angles with different expressions, and this seems like a really good excuse to do so. But also at the same time, also realize like how broken glass is supposed to work, and I did want to draw kind of like a semi-demonic guy with like horns and stuff like that. So I think it worked out pretty well. I actually really like this piece. I wish that I had done it in black and white, but it's good nonetheless. Day 13 was Teaming. Teaming is a little hard to exactly portray with drawing. Teaming basically means like covered with, filled of, you know, sort of stuff, filling up to the top, to the brim, you know, it's teeming with things. And so I was actually trying to think of various things, nothing really came to mind, and then actually I was randomly in my head popped the Magic the Gathering card, Jar of Eyeballs, and I was thinking about, oh, what if I just draw a witch holding a jar of eyeballs? But then it became more than that. Like as I was drawing, small details like bumps started to appear on her skin, and I was like, oh, if I do bumps and then like mushrooms on her back, it'll be like all the teaming, like teaming not only in the jar but also teaming on her skin with, you know, warts and mushrooms and stuff like that. So I thought it was kind of a cool idea, and I actually like this one probably the most of maybe any of them. It's definitely in my like top 3 favorite Inktober pieces that I've done, and I really like the style of it. In fact, I kind of wish that my style kind of would change more to be like this. Day 14 is Fierce, and I thought, what was more fierce than Doomsday? Doomsday, of course, being the monster that killed Superman in the original Death of Superman arc. And so I wanted to draw an image of Doomsday punching Superman, but of course then it went beyond that, and it became like the ground and the car and the sign, and it just became more than just an image. It actually became kind of like a scene, and I'm actually really happy with this one as well. I think kind of portrays the mood of what's going on pretty well, so big fan of it, and hopefully you guys like it too. Day 15 is Mysterious, and I thought of a lot of stuff for Mysterious. Mysterious is one of those prompts that's like you could really go in any direction. One of the original thoughts that I had was, of course, Batman looking down on someone on a rooftop, but then I kind of was in a rush, and so I came up with the idea of, oh, what if I just do like a genderless, like motiveless alien wandering around in the woods, and so that's kind of what I did, and I think it came out pretty well. I think it comes off kind of mysterious. Day 16 is Fat, and of course I thought of a lot of things I could do for Fat, of course, but the thing that I like almost immediately sat on doing was doing Snorlax from Pokemon. I did an original drawing where it was supposed to be like from the view of the ground of Route 16 when he's on the ground, and it's like the docks, and there's like this big like arc over the thing with like the Pokemon like the Pokeball symbol on it, and like a bunch of other stuff. I thought of it, and like the drawing itself was really cool, but then once I started to ink it, I realized how much I messed up on like the coloring and the kind of style I was going for, and I didn't think I was going to be consistent with it. So after just coloring in Snorlax, I gave up. And I redid it as the thing you're seeing on screen right now. Day 17 is Graceful. Now, this is one of my absolute favorites from Inktober. Of course, when I was thinking of Graceful, I thought of many things, and I landed on Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, because he's an acrobat, and acrobatics are graceful usually, and so I thought I would try to incorporate that into this, as his acrobatic nature. I've had this reference image of the pose he's doing on my phone for at least a year and a half, trying to find some way of being able to do it, knowing that it would eventually go to a Nightwing drawing. And so I was like, oh, perfect, this is the perfect way to use it. And so I wanted to do a thing of him jumping off a building and doing the kind of like Dark Knight Returns thing with the lightning. Also, it's really hard to tell because of the way that he's posed, but this is a redesign that I had made up maybe a little less than a year ago. It has a gold bird on the inside of the blue, so that way it was kind of an homage to that original Disco Wing outfit with all the gold on it. So that's what that's the design I was kind of going for. Day 18 is Filthy, and as you might be able to immediately recognize, this is from Portal 2. The Portal 2 features very heavily a kind of broken down, naturalized, decrepit version of Aperture Science, and so I felt like what better way of portraying Filthy than that. And I felt like it came out pretty well. It's one of my favorites from the Inktober. It's probably in my top 3, like I said. I like this one a lot because there's a lot of detail in it. I find that the more that you look at it, the more like subtle things that you pick up, like the fact that the little sliver of open door that you see in the bottom left, there's actually another room on the other side. There's also like the little like light up poster thing that's that they do for some of the labs sitting on by the door. And kind of like the tubes that goes behind the wall, like stuff like that. Just small details that I think like when put together in the picture it's pretty awesome. Day 19 is Cloud. This one's pretty special because my girlfriend helped me design this one. I knew from the beginning that I wanted to do a girl laying on a cloud looking down, kind of like resting on an arm, being kind of content and happy and whatever. But in terms of like the hairstyle, the clothing that she was wearing, the colors of the person, in terms of like their eye color and clothes, was all made up by my girlfriend. So thanks, Harmony. Day 20 is Deep, and of course it's kind of hard to exactly find an original way to portray Deep. Portraying Deep almost exclusively consists of just putting someone into a hole and being like, oh look, they're deep. And so I was trying to avoid just like putting something into a hole, but of course I ended up just putting something into a hole. So this is an image of Alice falling into the hole going into Wonderland, and kind of playing off the idea of like seeing how deep the rabbit hole goes, blah blah, but also paying homage to one of my absolute favorite characters of all time in all fiction is Alice. So I just wanted to do a piece for her. After that was Day 21, Furious, and of course, how could I do Furious without portraying the leader of the Red Rage Lanterns, Atrocitus? And because I am so passionate about comic books, I felt like it was necessary to redesign some of these characters. Not because there was anything wrong with their designs, but as to like a way to give something back to those characters that have given me so much, by redesigning them, kind of giving them a fresh look in my vision. And so this is my redesign of Atrocitus. And I think it looks pretty good. The one thing that you can't really see from the picture is that this thing is huge. Like it's most of a page, where some of my other pieces were only like a third or a quarter of a page. And so it's pretty big. It took a long time to ink in. Day 22 was Trail, and Trail was pretty sucky. I figured out after a while of kind of thinking and pondering that I should do the idea of like War, one of the four horsemen, up on a hill, looking over a desolate landscape, with a trail of fiery hooves behind him. And as you can see, it did not really come out that well. As I was drawing it, I did realize that, one, I started drawing it huge, which was like a mistake to begin with, but also I realized that I don't really know how to draw horses. So that's why a lot of the horse that you'll see here is cast in shadow, was to kind of make up for some of my mistakes. And also the trail of fire that's supposed to be, which is supposed to be kind of like the focus or the point of the prompt, is like barely visible in the image unless you're looking for it. So it just overall didn't really come out that well. It's my least favorite of them. So maybe someday I can do it better, but yeah, not a fan of that one. Day 23 is Juicy, and now how could I do Juicy without an apple? Day 23 is Juicy. And so I was thinking for a really long time, when I was thinking of the prompts when the list had originally come out, I was kind of thinking like, okay, so how do I do Juicy? But I decided to go with portraying original sin. You know, when Eve takes the first bite of the apple and creates sin. Because I thought like it's a cool moment, and I thought I had a cool vision for it. It ended up coming out pretty well, especially with the smaller details of Eve's face and like how she kind of portrays what's going on, plus the close-ups of both the snakes and the of Eve's eyes. Now it's really, really hard to read what the snake is saying, so I will tell you now that it's from the Bible. What he's saying is, you will surely not die. Which is supposedly, I did my research online because I have never actually read the Bible in whole, but the line that he says right before she takes the first bite is, you will surely not die. So that's what that's supposed to be. Day 24 is Blind. I immediately thought of Daredevil, the blind superhero. And I was thinking of kind of ways that I could portray him. I was thinking of ways to include his sort of like fire vision, his kind of like the way he's able to like tell shapes and stuff like that. And it was kind of hard to necessarily peg that down, especially since my art style isn't really like that. But what I did try to do was kind of put him in darkness, and tried to give him really like contrasting shadows, and just kind of seem like his body is emerging from shadow. And while the emerging from shadow part might have not been totally clear, I do really like what I did with like the kind of like tied batons and just kind of the pose in general. And plus, who doesn't love black and red together? So I thought it came out pretty cool. Day number 25 is Ship. And of course, a ship comes to your mind when you think of ship. You just draw a ship, whether it's a spaceship or a boat ship or whatever. And of course, I thought of the Millennium Falcon. I thought of maybe drawing just an original spaceship for like a sci-fi buddy cop comic. But then I was thinking like, oh, why don't I just draw a boat ship? And so I had this like really grand idea in my head of like an angry, burly captain yelling at a storm, standing on the front of his boat, yelling at this storm. And so that's kind of what I pulled off. And this is the first time I'd ever done rain in an image before, which actually turned out to be surprisingly easy and effective with a white pen. And I also put like a frame above it, so that way you could see the storm in its entirety pulled out. And I really, really like this image, although this was the longest of them. This one took me 5 hours to complete, because it was pretty much a whole page. Day number 26 is Squeak. I called this one Rose and her sword Thorn. Just an original character. There's actually not really much to think about here, although I do really like the shine that I did on the armor and the rose that is on her shoulder. And it's a cool original character to add to my roster whenever someone's wondering what kind of original characters I have. So that's one of them. Day number 27 is Spider-Gwen. When you think of Climb for a superhero fan, they're going to be thinking of Spider-Man. A lot of other people that I saw on Instagram were drawing Spider-Man. So I thought I'd just contribute and draw Spider-Gwen, who was actually the person my niece went for Halloween. And so I thought that, like it makes sense. I drew Spider-Gwen, so I did it. And I do really like this one. I like some of the coloring on it. I like the coloring on the windows and the sunset, but I feel like the sunset should have been pinker. Like it was a mistake on my part. And I also feel like the building should have been much, much darker purple, if not just black. So oh well, we learn, but I like it overall. Day number 28 is Fall. This is a reference to the same character who I did for number 6, Sword. And it's the same character that my girlfriend really loves. And I was at her house when I drew this, so I felt like, it makes sense. Like I should add on to it. So I guess now technically it's like an original character for me, but it's not really like anything I have thought of or fleshed out. But I did it for her, so hope you like that, babe. Day number 29 was Unite, and of course Justice League is coming out. Their whole thing is Unite the Seven, so when I saw Unite as a theme, I had to do Justice League, which is a challenge because when I draw people, I usually draw one person, sometimes two at a maximum. I've never drawn 7 people before, and so this was like a real legitimate challenge to try to see if I could fit 7 people into the same shot and still have it be like good. And I really like how this one came out. Some of the parts I made a little simpler than others just for the ease of time because I was working on that piece until 3 o'clock the next morning. But I really like it overall. I like some of the redesigns I did, especially on Cyborg and Wonder Woman. And so I really like this piece. I'm really proud of it. Day number 30 is Found, and I called this character here that you can see Camila Cortez, and she's supposed to be like a badass Latina, like adventurer explorer kind of type. And so here she is reaching into a cave to grab a skull with jewels in it. It's pretty basic, but when I thought of Found, I immediately wanted to go for sort of like a swashbuckling adventure movie type thing. And so that's what I came up with. And for the final day, day number 31, the last one was Mask. And so I wanted to do this idea of like a really horrifyingly disfigured man with an evil, sinister smile on his face, taking off like a plastic Halloween like devil mask. Not only because it was Halloween, but also because like I feel like that's kind of like a cool image. I don't really know how well I did in terms of like really making him as scary as I could have, but overall I kind of dig what I was trying to go for here, and I can see where the mistakes I were made, and so I feel like now next time I can do it better. All right, guys. Anyways, the sun is going down. As you can see, I just have my little box light over here to keep me company. So I do have to go. If you guys liked this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you liked any of these images, tell me which ones you liked the most in the comments down below. And remember that I do have an Instagram that you can go at. The Strange Eli is the username. That's where I post a lot of my ink drawings and stuff like that. But also, if you just want to get a more personal look at my life, or even get updates for whenever I'm like filming a video and have like a behind the scenes picture to take, that's usually where I post them. So that'll be it for today. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If they bring back the rating system, go ahead and give it 5 stars, but we all know that they won't. Comment what you want to comment in the comments down below. Tell me all your thoughts and opinions and stuff like that. Share this video with a friend, and thanks for chilling out while I show you all my Inktober pieces, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.